Hello and welcome truth seekers to the channel. I'm Alex and today we embark on an investigative journey into a revelation so profoundly shocking, so utterly earth-shattering, that it threatens to redefine everything we thought we knew about the Brown family. For years, we've watched the complex tapestry of polygamy unravel on sister wives. We've witnessed divorces, arguments, betrayals, and ultimately, the complete fragmentation of a family that once promised to endure for eternity. But none, and I mean none, of the drama we have witnessed over the past decade compares to the magnitude of the bombshell we are about to dissect. We're talking about a secret so deeply buried, so meticulously concealed, that its exposure now rips open wounds many believed had healed and creates new ones that may never close. We're talking about a DNA bombshell, triggered by none other than Mykelti Brown, Christine and Kody's vibrant, outspoken daughter. Her innocent curiosity about her ancestry has reportedly led to the uncovering of a hidden truth that implicates her mother, Christine Brown, in a way no one could have ever foreseen. The existence of a secret daughter, an unknown sister, concealed from the world and even from her own family for decades. This is not just a rumor. This is a story that, if true, irrevocably alters the narrative of the Brown family, casts a harsh new light on Christine's entire persona, and creates a ripple effect of doubt, anger, and confusion among every single member of this already fractured clan. Who is this secret daughter? When was she born? Why was she kept a secret? What does Kody know? What do Mary, Janelle, and Robyn know? And what does this revelation mean for the future? Not just of the Brown family, but of the entire plural marriage community that has watched them. Alex, Part 1, The Unraveling Thread, Mykelti's Ancestry Quest, and the Accidental Discovery. Let's set the scene for how such a monumental secret could possibly come to light. The digital age has brought with it an explosion of accessible personal genomics. DNA ancestry kits, like 23andMe or Ancestry DNA, have become incredibly popular, offering individuals the chance to connect with distant relatives, trace their lineage, and uncover fascinating aspects of their ethnic background. For a family as rooted in ancestry and legacy as the Browns, with their deep ties to fundamentalist Mormonism and its emphasis on family lines, it's not surprising that one of the children might eventually decide to explore their heritage through one of these services. Enter Mykelti Brown. Mykelti has always been one of the more effervescent and curious of Christine's children. She's outgoing, a free spirit, and often the first to embrace new trends and experiences. It's entirely plausible that Mykelti, perhaps as a fun gift or out of genuine interest in her family's unique history, would purchase and submit a DNA test. She might have been looking for distant cousins, or perhaps just confirming her European heritage, blissfully unaware that her simple quest for knowledge would unleash a cataclysmic truth. The way these DNA kits work is that they compare your genetic markers to a vast database of other users. When a significant match is found, particularly a close one, the service notifies you. It identifies potential relatives, parents, siblings, first cousins, second cousins, and so on. Imagine Mykelti, excitedly logging into her Ancestry account, perhaps with her husband Tony, eager to see her results. She scrolls through her ethnic breakdown, chuckles at some unexpected percentages, and then she sees it. Under the close relatives section, a match. Not a distant cousin, not an aunt, but a high percentage match indicating a half-sibling. A half-sibling. The immediate reaction would be confusion. Mykelti knows all her siblings. There's Aspen, Paydon, Gwendolyn, Isabel, Truly, and then Kody's children with Mary, Janelle, and Robyn. There are no missing pieces in her direct line from Christine and Kody. So, who is this person? The DNA doesn't lie. A half-sibling match is incredibly strong, indicating a shared parent. And if it's not Kody, then it must be Christine. The name attached to the match would be the next piece of the puzzle. Let's hypothesize a name, Willow Smith, or Sarah Jones, a name that is utterly unfamiliar, completely outside the known Brown family network. Mykelti would then, naturally, delve deeper. These services often provide messaging capabilities, allowing matched individuals to connect. Imagine Mykelti, heart pounding, sending a tentative message to Willow. "Hi, my name is Mykelti Brown. My DNA test says we're half-siblings. I'm from the Brown family. Do you know anything about this?" The response, or lack thereof, would only amplify the mystery and the growing dread. The initial shock, disbelief, and perhaps a flicker of anger would quickly morph into a desperate need for answers. Mykelti, known for her directness, would undoubtedly confront her mother. And that confrontation, delivered not just with a question, but with irrefutable scientific proof, would be the moment Christine Brown's decades-long secret finally exploded into the harsh light of day. This is the precise, excruciating moment when an innocent ancestry test transforms into a DNA bombshell. The consequences, as we are about to explore, are immeasurable. Alex. Part 2: Christine's Past, Unpacking the Feasibility of a Hidden Child. Now, let's pause and consider the foundational question. Is it even possible for Christine Brown to have a secret child? For many, the initial reaction might be incredulity. Christine has been on television for over a decade, her life seemingly an open book. But the reality is far more complex. The Brown family's public persona is carefully curated, and even within their own plural marriage, there were deeply private lives, especially in the earlier pre-TV years. Let's delve into Christine's history. She joined the Brown family as Kody's third wife in 1994. Before that, she was a young woman from a prominent polygamist family, raised within the fundamentalist faith. Her upbringing would have instilled a powerful sense of duty, conformity, and discretion. The idea of shame, of bringing discredit to the family or the faith, would have been paramount. What if this secret child predates her marriage to Kody? Imagine a young Christine, perhaps in her late teens or very early 20s, before she met Kody. Young, impressionable, potentially involved in a relationship that went against the strictures of her faith or family. An unplanned pregnancy in such a conservative environment would have been a catastrophic event. It would have brought immense shame not only upon herself but upon her entire lineage. The pressure to conceal such a pregnancy, to give the child up for adoption quietly, or even to arrange for the child to be raised by another family member in secret, would have been immense. In some close communities, such arrangements are tragically common to avoid scandal. Alternatively, what if the child was conceived during her marriage to Kody, but not by him? This scenario is far more sensational and, frankly, devastating. The idea of a wife in a polygamist marriage conceiving a child with another man is almost unthinkable within their specific religious framework. It would be considered the ultimate betrayal, not just of Kody, but of the sacred covenants of their faith. Such a secret would have to be guarded with extreme vigilance, again, likely leading to a clandestine adoption or a complex cover-up. The sheer psychological burden of carrying such a secret for decades, especially while living a public life promoting the virtues of her plural marriage, would be immense. Consider the early years of the Brown family, before TLC cameras entered their lives. They lived in relative obscurity, moving between homes, often struggling financially. It was a time when privacy was easier to maintain. Medical records were not as digitized or easily accessible. A birth in a different state, an adoption facilitated by a private agency, or even a home birth with limited documentation. Any of these could have created the conditions for a child to exist without ever being publicly linked to Christine. Furthermore, Christine's personality, while often seen as bubbly and open, also has a deeply private side. She has admitted to struggling with insecurity, to feeling like she was not pretty enough or thin enough for Kody. She's also fiercely protective of her children. The shame of a secret child, the fear of judgment from her highly conservative family, and the potential for public scandal would have been powerful motivators for concealment. If such a child existed, Christine would have had ample reason and opportunity in the pre-reality TV era to keep it hidden, even from Kody and her sister wives. This isn't just hypothetical. It's a terrifyingly plausible reality when viewed through the lens of her background and the pressures of her faith. Alex. Part 3. Kody's ignorance or complicity. The patriarchy's blind spot. This is where the story truly twists. If Christine has a secret daughter, what does Kody know? There are two primary, equally explosive possibilities. Either Kody is completely ignorant of this child's existence, or he has been complicit in its concealment. Both scenarios are catastrophic. Let's first entertain the possibility that Kody truly knows nothing. Imagine Kody Brown, the self-proclaimed patriarch, the man who constantly boasts about the transparency and honesty of his plural family, being confronted with the existence of a child his wife gave birth to, a child who is genetically linked to his own daughters, a child he knew nothing about. His reaction would be an unparalleled explosion of rage, ego, and betrayal. Kody's entire identity is wrapped up in his control and his perception of his wife's loyalty. For Christine to have carried such a monumental secret, a secret that challenges the very foundation of their marriage and his paternal narrative, would utterly dismantle his worldview. He would feel publicly humiliated. His authority, already diminished by the departures of Christine and Janelle, would be completely shattered. He prides himself on being the central figure, the source of all knowledge and truth within his family. The idea that such a fundamental truth about one of his wives, or a truth involving a child, could be hidden from him for decades would expose his perceived control as a farce. His anger would not just be directed at Christine, it would likely spill over onto Mykelti and even the unknown daughter, viewing them as instruments of his public embarrassment. His inability to have known everything would be a profound blow to his narcissistic self-image. Now, let's consider the darker, more unsettling possibility. Kody was complicit. What if he knew about this child, or at least had suspicions, and either actively participated in the cover-up or chose to ignore it? This scenario could stem from a few places. If the child predates his marriage to Christine, Kody, upon finding out, might have seen it as a stain on their plural family's reputation. In a polygamous community, maintaining a pristine image of moral uprightness is critical. He might have encouraged Christine to keep it a secret, to prevent scandal and protect their standing within their church and community. His complicity would be a calculated move to preserve appearances, even at the cost of honesty and truth. If the child was conceived during their marriage, but not by Kody, his complicity would imply an even deeper, more disturbing pact. It would suggest that Kody prioritized maintaining the illusion of his perfect plural family over addressing a fundamental betrayal. Perhaps he threatened Christine with excommunication or complete abandonment if the secret ever got out. This would paint a picture of Kody as far more manipulative and ruthless than even his critics have imagined. It would reveal a man willing to sacrifice truth and even acknowledge a child's existence to preserve his own carefully constructed narrative. Regardless of whether he knew or not, this revelation would expose the deepest hypocrisy in Kody's constant calls for honesty and transparency within the family. His entire argument that the family failed because others weren't open or supportive would crumble into dust. If Kody knew, his hypocrisy is staggering. If he didn't know, his claim of being an omniscient patriarch is laughable. In either case, the DNA bombshell utterly demolishes Kody's moral high ground and cements his legacy as a man whose pursuit of control ultimately led to utter chaos. Alex. Part 4. The sister wives' stunned silence. Mary, Janelle, and Robyn's reactions. The impact of this DNA bombshell would not be confined to Christine and Kody. It would send shockwaves through the entire network of sister wives, past and present. Mary, Janelle, and Robyn would all react in ways that reflect their individual histories, their relationships with Christine, and their own complicated positions within the family. Let's start with Mary Brown. Mary, the first wife, has always been the one with the most complicated relationship with Christine. There was a time when they were close, co-parenting and sharing life. But over the years, their bond fractured, most notably after Mary's catfishing scandal, which Christine openly struggled to forgive. Mary has often felt isolated, ostracized, and constantly seeking Kody's approval. For Mary, this revelation would be a complex cocktail of emotions. On one hand, there might be a sense of vindication. Mary has often been the scapegoat, the one blamed for many of the family's problems. For Christine, who often positioned herself as the good wife and the loyal spiritual wife, to be exposed with such a massive secret might, in Mary's mind, level the playing field. The public shame that Mary endured for her catfishing affair might now be shared, or even eclipsed, by Christine's secret. This could, ironically, make Mary feel less alone in her own past mistakes. On the other hand, there would be profound sadness and betrayal. Mary, like the others, believed she knew the full story of their shared lives. The idea that Christine could have held such a secret, perhaps for decades, while they were living under the same roof, raising children together, and sharing intimate moments, would be a deep wound. Mary often speaks of loyalty and trust. This would be the ultimate breach of that trust. It might also deepen Mary's own sense of isolation, further confirming her belief that she was never truly a part of the family's inner circle if such a secret could be kept from her. Next, Janelle Brown. Janelle and Christine, despite their differences, shared a unique, pragmatic bond. They were often aligned against Kody and Robyn, particularly during the COVID years. They were partners in child-rearing financial planning, at least in principle, and shared a mutual understanding of Kody's shortcomings. Janelle is the logical, no-nonsense sister wife. Her reaction would likely be one of utter shock, followed by a deeply rational, yet painful analysis of how this impacts the children. Janelle's primary concern has always been her children. The idea that a biological sibling of her nephews and nieces existed, unknown, for so long, would be incredibly unsettling. She would feel a profound sense of sympathy for this unknown daughter, who was denied a connection to her biological family. But her anger would be directed at Christine for the deception and the potential emotional fallout this would cause for all the Brown children. Janelle values honesty and directness. Christine's concealment, particularly if it was ongoing while Janelle was putting her entire life savings into the family, would feel like a profound betrayal of their shared sisterhood. She might also question everything about Christine's past narratives, wondering what else was a lie. Her trust in Christine, which had recently been solidified by their shared rejection of Kody, would be completely shattered. Finally, Robyn Brown. Robyn, Kody's only remaining wife and his self-proclaimed soulmate, would likely have the most dramatic and arguably hypocritical reaction. Robyn positions herself as the empathetic, emotionally intelligent wife, the one who always wants to solve problems and understand feelings. However, her actions often contradict this, revealing a deep-seated need for control and validation, particularly from Kody. Robyn's initial reaction would likely be performative shock and outrage. She would frame it as a deep betrayal of the family, but more specifically, a betrayal of Kody. She would likely attempt to leverage this information to further solidify her position as Kody's loyal wife, contrasting Christine's perceived deception with her own supposed honesty. She would undoubtedly use this as another reason why Christine was never fully committed to the family and why Kody was right to move on from her. Robyn would likely express sadness for the secret daughter, but her underlying motivation would be to use this scandal as a weapon against Christine. However, a deeper, more unsettling possibility exists. What if Robyn knew, or suspected? Robyn is Kody's confidant. If Kody knew, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that he shared this dark secret with Robyn, binding her to him in a conspiracy of silence. If this were the case, Robyn's outrage would be an even more elaborate performance, designed to deflect suspicion and maintain her image. This scenario would expose Robyn as far more duplicitous than ever imagined, a master manipulator willing to keep a child's existence a secret to preserve her own standing. Regardless, the entire fabric of the sister-wives' relationships would be irrevocably shredded, leaving behind a wasteland of distrust and unanswered questions. Alex, Part 5. The Children's Trauma, Mykelti, Her Siblings, and the Unknown Sister. The true victims of this alleged DNA bombshell are the children. The impact on them would be profound, traumatic, and long-lasting. Mykelti, the accidental discoverer, would carry an immense burden. Her siblings would be thrust into a crisis of identity and trust. And the unknown daughter, thrust unwillingly into the public eye, would face an unimaginable upheaval. Let's start with Mykelti Brown. She initiated this search with innocent curiosity. Now, she is the bearer of a secret that will shatter her family. The psychological weight of this discovery would be immense. She would grapple with feelings of betrayal by her mother, confusion about her family's history, and the moral dilemma of how to handle such sensitive information. Her relationship with Christine would be irrevocably changed. Mykelti, known for being outspoken, would demand answers, and the painful truth, however it unfolds, would leave deep scars. She would likely feel a profound sense of grief for the lost years, for the opportunity to have known her sister. Then there are Mykelti's full siblings, Aspen, Paydon, Gwendolyn, Isabel, and Truly. Each of them would react differently, but all would experience a deep sense of betrayal and confusion. Aspen, the eldest and often the most composed, would likely retreat into herself, quietly processing the information but feeling a profound sense of loss for the family narrative she believed in. Her trust in Christine, like Mykelti's, would be shattered. Paydon, always outspoken and often critical of Kody, might direct his anger primarily at his mother for the deception, but also at Kody for his potential complicity or his failure to have known everything. He'd feel a deep sense of injustice for the unknown sister. Gwendolyn, known for her sharp wit and directness, would undoubtedly confront Christine with ferocity. She has shown a willingness to speak truth to power, and this revelation would be the ultimate challenge to her mother's integrity. She might also express immense sympathy for the unknown sister. Isabel, who has already endured immense pain and emotional neglect from Kody, would likely feel another profound wound. The idea of a hidden sibling would compound her feelings of being undervalued and unseen within the family. Her emotional state, already fragile, could be significantly impacted. Truly, the youngest, still a child navigating a complex family structure, would be the most vulnerable. This news could be incredibly disorienting and confusing for her, especially if it leads to further family instability or public scrutiny. Explaining the existence of a secret sister to a young child would be an agonizing task for Christine. And then there's the unknown secret daughter. Imagine her life. Perhaps she grew up in an adoptive family, knowing she was adopted, but with no knowledge of her biological family's fame. Or perhaps she was raised within a different branch of the polygamist community, or by an aunt or uncle, never knowing Christine was her biological mother. To suddenly be thrust into the public consciousness as the secret Brown daughter, to learn that her biological mother is a reality TV star who kept her existence hidden for decades, would be an unimaginable shock. She would grapple with questions of identity, abandonment, and the overwhelming feeling of being a secret. Her life, previously private, would be ripped open, exposed to the scrutiny of millions. She would be an innocent bystander caught in the crossfire of a family's generational trauma and deceit. The collective impact on all the Brown children would be a profound reevaluation of their entire family history, their childhood memories, their understanding of their parents' relationships, and their sense of self would be irrevocably altered. The trust, already fragile, would likely be destroyed. The legacy of their family would be forever tainted by this deep, dark secret. Alex. Part 6. Legal and Public Relations Fallout. The end of Christine's redemption arc. The implications of this DNA bombshell extend far beyond personal relationships. They delve deep into legal, ethical, and public relations arenas. For Christine Brown, this revelation would represent the absolute end of her meticulously crafted redemption arc, and a catastrophic blow to her public image. Christine has spent the last few years rebuilding her public persona. She left Kody, found love with David Woolley, got married, and has championed a message of empowerment, self-worth, and finally finding happiness after leaving a toxic situation. Her fans have rallied around her, seeing her as an inspiration. This secret daughter revelation would completely obliterate that narrative. It would expose a deep, profound deception at the heart of her life, making her empowering message ring hollow for many. From a legal standpoint, depending on the circumstances of the child's birth and potential adoption, there could be a myriad of legal questions. If the child was adopted, were all legal protocols followed? Was Kody involved in the relinquishment, even if he wasn't the biological father? Are there any financial obligations, past or present, that Christine or Kody might have? While specific charges are unlikely given the nature of a historical secret, the public scrutiny could lead to investigations, calls for transparency, and legal challenges if any party feels wronged. For the secret daughter, there might be legal questions about her identity, inheritance, and the right to establish a legal relationship with her biological family. The public relations fallout would be immediate and devastating. The tabloid frenzy would be unprecedented. Mainstream news outlets, not just entertainment sites, would pick up this story. Christine's entire platform, built on authenticity and honesty, would crumble. She would face intense criticism from fans who feel betrayed, from critics who always saw cracks in the family's facade, and potentially from the conservative community she grew up in, which might view her actions as a deep moral failing. The narrative would shift from Christine, the empowered survivor, to Christine, the deceptive mother. For Kody, the public relations fallout would depend on his level of prior knowledge. If he genuinely had no idea, he would be painted as a cuckolded, unaware patriarch, a figure of ridicule. His claims of leading and protecting his family would be exposed as hollow. If he did know and was complicit, he would be seen as a manipulative enabler, just as guilty of deception as Christine. In either case, his reputation, already battered, would take another catastrophic hit. The entire Brown family brand, already struggling with the departures of 3 wives, would be utterly decimated. Their show, if it continued, would transform from a family drama to a scandal-driven exposé. The family's legacy of plural marriage, already under fire, would be further tarnished by accusations of hypocrisy and deep-seated secrets. The trust of their audience, painstakingly built over years, would evaporate overnight. Alex, Part 7. The unfolding narrative, speculation, confession, and the long road ahead. So, how would this narrative actually unfold on the show, or in the public sphere? Let's consider the steps a revelation of this magnitude might take. The initial confrontation, as we discussed, would likely be between Mykelti and Christine. There would be tears, denials, eventually a broken confession. Christine, faced with irrefutable DNA evidence, would have no choice but to admit the truth. Her confession, captured either on camera or leaked through close sources, would be the first tremor of the earthquake. The next step would be informing Kody. Whether Mykelti tells him, or Christine is forced to, that conversation would be explosive. Kody's reaction, as hypothesized earlier, would range from bewildered rage to cold, calculated anger if he had been complicit. This moment would be crucial, as it would reveal the depth of his knowledge, or lack thereof, and set the tone for the family's response. Then comes the arduous process of informing the other sister wives and children. This would not be a single, easy conversation. It would be a series of agonizing, individual revelations, each met with unique reactions of shock, anger, sadness, and betrayal. The older children, particularly Christine's adult children, would grapple with their altered family history, while the younger ones, like Truly, would struggle to comprehend the sheer complexity of it all. The Sister Wives production team, if this were to play out on television, would be facing their biggest challenge yet. Do they film this? How do they navigate such deeply personal and potentially damaging information? The ethical considerations would be immense. But given the nature of reality television, the temptation to capture such a dramatic storyline would be overwhelming. It would transform the show from a chronicling of a failing marriage into a true crime, mystery-solved type of narrative, albeit a deeply personal one. Christine's public statement, when it eventually comes, would be a critical moment. She would have to choose her words carefully, balancing contrition with explanation, trying to garner any last shred of empathy from her shattered fanbase. She might detail the circumstances of the child's birth, the reasons for the secrecy, and express profound remorse for the pain caused. But even the most eloquent apology might not be enough to mend the deep cracks this secret would create. The greatest challenge, however, would be the long-term impact on the secret daughter herself. Her life would be irrevocably changed. She would have to navigate a world that suddenly knows her as the secret Brown daughter. She would face intense media scrutiny, public curiosity, and the complex emotional task of forming a relationship with a biological family who kept her existence hidden. Her journey for truth and reconciliation would become a public spectacle, adding another layer of trauma to her already complicated identity. This DNA bombshell is not merely a piece of gossip. It is a seismic event that reveals the fragility of identity, the corrosive power of secrets, and the enduring capacity for human deception. It would force every member of the Brown family to re-examine their past, their present, and their hopes for any kind of future. It would be a story of profound betrayal, but also perhaps a story of an unexpected reunion, albeit under the most painful and public of circumstances. Alex, Part 8. The deeper questions, identity, faith, and the price of public life. This hypothetical scenario, this DNA bombshell, prompts us to ask much deeper questions about identity, faith, and the true cost of living a public life. First, identity. For the Brown children, their identity has always been intertwined with the Kody and his four wives narrative. They are children of a plural family, a unique and often misunderstood upbringing. The discovery of a secret sibling, a half-sister from Christine's past, fractures this neatly defined identity. It forces them to question their own origins, their mother's truth, and the very foundation of their family's narrative. For the secret daughter, it's an even more profound identity crisis, as her entire self-perception is suddenly shifted by the revelation of her biological origins and her connection to a famous, albeit dysfunctional, family. Second, faith and fundamentalism. The Brown family's entire existence was rooted in their fundamentalist Mormon faith, which emphasizes eternal families, honesty, and strict moral codes. A secret child, particularly one born out of wedlock or outside the patriarchal marriage, would be a profound violation of those codes. This revelation would expose the hypocrisy and the immense pressures that exist within such communities to maintain an outward appearance of piety, even at the cost of deep, personal secrets. It would highlight the systemic flaws in a structure that encourages concealment over confession and image over integrity. It might also lead to a larger discussion about the mental health and well-being of individuals, particularly women, within highly conservative religious environments where personal struggles are often suppressed for the sake of community approval. Third, the price of public life. The Brown family willingly entered the public sphere, choosing to share their lives, warts and all, with millions of viewers. They signed contracts, allowed cameras into their homes, and exposed their most intimate struggles. But even in a reality TV show, there are limits to what is revealed. This DNA bombshell would demonstrate the ultimate vulnerability of those who live in the public eye. A simple, personal decision to take an ancestry test can trigger an unstoppable chain reaction that exposes the most deeply guarded secrets, regardless of the individual's desire for privacy. It underscores the immense and often cruel price of fame, where personal history is fair game, and every hidden corner can eventually be illuminated by an unexpected light. Finally, the nature of forgiveness and redemption. Christine's journey for many has been about redemption, finding her voice, leaving a toxic marriage, and building a new, happier life. This revelation would challenge that redemption arc in the most fundamental way. Can a person be truly redeemed if they have concealed such a profound secret for so long? Can her children, or the public, truly forgive such a deception? The answer is complex and deeply personal. It would force all involved to grapple with the complexities of human morality, the burden of past mistakes, and the difficult, often impossible, path towards true reconciliation. This DNA bombshell, if it were to actually happen, is not just a salacious headline. It is a mirror reflecting the deepest fears and most profound questions that lie at the heart of human existence. Who are we? Where do we come from? And what truths do we bury, sometimes even from ourselves, to survive? It is a story that reminds us that even in the most public of lives, there are always shadows, always secrets, waiting for an unexpected ray of light to reveal them. Alex, the gravity of this alleged revelation is truly staggering. Whether this particular story ever unfolds in reality, its implications are a testament to the complex, often heartbreaking nature of family secrets and the relentless march of time and technology that can unearth them. What are your thoughts on this astonishing hypothetical? How do you think each family member would truly react? And what does this say about the true nature of the Brown family as we've come to know it? Share your theories, your outrage, and your deepest reflections in the comments section below. If this deep dive has captivated you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our continuous coverage of the Brown family and the ever-unfolding drama of reality television.